Guys, James from Bolt Bros here. Just want to talk about the subject since we've had a lot of shifting around for GM and head coach. Let's just focus a little bit on Tom Telesco and his longer history as the Chargers general manager, kind of what the good is and the bad is as a general manager, and go over his whole history. So let's just go ahead and get into it, guys. Bolt Bros, let's go.
I'm Dale Henley. You watching the Bolt Bros podcast? Let's do it!
All right, so there's a lot to unpack about Tom Telesco's history as a GM. Once again, guys, appreciate the support and love and everything. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not, but I'd love to be able to hear your guys' opinion on Tom Telesco in general. I'll go over everything, pretty much from drafting and also free agent signings and kind of how it all panned out for this team. So it's a lot to go through on this video. So let's get into it here. So as Tom Telesco, as a GM, obviously came in after A.J. Smith, hired Mike McCoy as his first head coach, had an overall regular season record of 84-92 and postseason record of 2-3. So 3 times the playoff in basically 11 years as a GM, and only 2 wins out of those. That's not good and not cutting it by any means, guys. So, there's a lot to unpack with all that. There's a lot that you could really look at and say the decisions you made during the season, before the season, drafted, all kind of make that why we've had that bad of a record under his tenure. So let's just jump right into it, guys. So start with 2013 and just talk about that year. So obviously we got a keystone to this team in his first draft in 3rd round with Keenan Allen, absolute stud to be able to be on this team and still on this team as one of the lone San Diego Chargers players outside of Joey Bosa, which we'll chat about here soon. But once again, a guy that actually did get to the Pro Bowl and has been in the Pro Bowl and is an all-pro potentially this year. So great player all around. But you go and say DJ Fluker, first pick, you're trying to get Phillip Rivers some help here. DJ Fluker is okay, not great. Kind of bad footwork all around. Manti Te'o, you trade up to be able to go with to get him. You know what? Obviously, if you want to learn a little bit more about him, watch the Netflix show on Manti Te'o and kind of what happened with him. It's not working out so well. Big thing about Tom Telesco is that he doesn't do very well outside of the first round to be able to get first round or basically Pro Bowl based players. He's only had 2 in his entire time outside of first round for Pro Bowl players. Not good. Obviously, Keenan Allen was a great pickup from the get-go for his first draft. You know, in that same year, we signed Derek Cox for a 4-year, $20 million contract. Dwight Freeney, 2-year, $8.7 million. John Phillips, tight end, 3-year, $5.2 million. King Dunlap, good signing, offensive tackle, 2-year, $3.7 million. And Danny Woodhead, running back, 2-year, $3.5 million. The Derek Cox signing. Man, that one sounds kind of familiar. Signing this guy to a lot of money, 4 years, $20 million contract, basically with us for 1 year. That was it. And bad signing for us right from the get-go. Basically, one player out of that draft worked out. Tough. Moving on. 2014, Jason Verrett, absolute stud base player. Once again, can't be healthy. I feel like that's a whole thing, and I'm going to just say that as a repetition almost throughout this whole entire video. We choose guys in the draft that are injury-based prone type players. Now, anybody, you can't teach people to be injured, but at the same side, freak accidents happen. But you could see history of players and how their history is as health. Jason Verrett was a great player all around. Absolutely could be one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Just never could stay healthy. I mean, putting him in as a first-round pick is kind of a risk. Those are the risks you take later on in the draft. You try to find a guy later on in the round that has got the skill set, got the talent, but at the same side, you don't want to put a first-round pick at that level. And Jason Verrett could have been a phenomenal player. Jeremiah Tachu, we traded up to be able to get to him. Kind of didn't really pan out as one of those solid keystone type players that you go for when you trade up. Chris Watt, Not too much I got from him. Pretty much this whole draft from that point on, nothing really panned out for this team at all in 2014 base draft. We only had one signing of Donald Brown at 3 years, $10.5 million. Brandon Flowers, 1 year, 3.5. Good signing, kind of later in his career. Kellen Clemens, 2 year, $3 million. And that's about it for the most part. Coupon Tom kind of already at it. Obviously, you can't blame him trying to find those deals. You can't really blame that by any means. I mean, salary caps do restrict, but at the same side, you're really not getting the right signings. You're not getting the right drafting. You're not really helping the team in the long term. If you don't draft well, you have a lot of issues later on. You have depth issues. If you're not signing the right players, you're going to have salary cap based issues because you're putting a lot of money towards players. It's a really tough thing to watch. 2015 draft. Melvin Gordon traded up to be able to get him. We traded a 4th round and a 5th round pick in 2016 to the Niners to move up to the 1st round to get Melvin Gordon. So obviously we had some good years with him. We had a lot of bad years and a lot of headaches with him. Tough one to be able to kind of really say where that one's at, but I would probably say it's kind of a miss. One of the guys, he did also get to a Pro Bowl. So one of the very few. Denzel Perryman, one of the other outside 1st round type of Pro Bowl player. Denzel Perryman was an absolute stud. Hated that we let him walk. I think he was a great player, great role player, and just a thumper all around. Craig Mager, not really too much from him. Kyle Emanuel, I think, was a good edge setter. Darius Philon, I thought, was a very good player all around. Let him walk also, too. Kind of didn't really do so well in the 2015 side of things. For signings, we did go and get a little aggressive. Orlando Franklin, I think he was a good player for us for a guard. 5 year, 3.6 or $36.5 million. Stevie Johnson, 3 year, $10.5 million. And really from that point, Joe Barksdale was probably one of the other notable type guys that we ended up signing for a 1 year, $1.0 million contract. So moving on, 2016 draft. Joey Bosa, you know who he is. He's a great player. Once again, injury-based prone player. Obviously a Pro Bowl guy, one of the very few Pro Bowl guys that we've had on this team. Great player, just can't stay on the field. Money sitting on the sidelines isn't helping anybody, guys. And so with this same draft, you had Hunter Henry. That was a good signing for us. Good, solid tight end all around. Ended up letting him walk to go to the New England Patriots. Kind of a bummer that we let him go. I think he could have been a great player for us for the long haul. Max Turek, Joshua Perry, Jatavius Brown, Drew Kaiser, Derek Watt, Donovan Clark didn't pan out. None of them pretty much did at all. I think Jatavius Brown might be one guy. Drew Kaiser kind of was in there for a bit. Derek Watt was okay for us for a bit, but it really just wasn't impactful guys. In the same draft, Chargers traded their 2016 5th round selection with their 2015 1st and 4th round selection to the San Francisco Niners in exchange for the Niners 2015 1st round selection. So switching of picks, giving up some later round base picks to be able to go after Joey Bosa. Not a bad little move for us. I mean, for the long haul, it's not bad. But once again, we have a lot of injury-based issues. Chargers did acquire a 6th round selection and trade that sent Jeremiah Searles to the Minnesota Vikings. So they did get a little aggressive. For most part, that's the 2016 draft for us. So moving on, 2017 draft. If you look at this one, we are now in the LA draft. Now, this one to me, probably a very unpopular opinion. We probably should have drafted a quarterback at this time. Phillip Rivers was starting to kind of get latter part of his career. You had a high pick. You kind of think, hey, you did have a pretty good 2016 year. You didn't have that good of a 2016 year. You kind of feel like the last couple of years have just been stumbling all around. You got a new head coach now in Anthony Lynn. You let go of Mike McCoy once again. Now you're in your second head coach after being the GM since 2013. Kind of not a good look all around for you. Not picking good talent at the leadership-based level. And then you go after Mike Williams, where you could have gone for a Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid was stunned that we did not pick Patrick Mahomes, which Chiefs traded up for, which was, to me, a miss all around. Mike Williams is a great guy. Love Mike Will all around. But once again, a guy that was a 1st round selection that was injury prone. He basically became more of an injury issue and still to this day is now an injury based issue. Great guy. Love him to death. But That's kind of a miss. You want guys who players right now that are healthy that don't sit on sidelines. That's the thing that I always feel like is a constant theme with Telesco signings wise for as like free agent signings and also drafting side of things. Second, third round, they're trying to help out Phillip Rivers. Forrest Lamp, Dan Feeney doesn't work out. Rayshon Jenkins, I think, was a great player. Let him walk. Desmond King, I think, was a great X-factor player. Let him walk. Sam Tevi, tackle, did not do well. You shouldn't have put that guy, a 6th-round pick late like that in that situation. Didn't work out well. Isaac Rochelle, I thought was one of the good players all there. I think a good role player, depth kind of guy. Let him walk. Moving on to 2018. And actually, going back to the 2017 season, we did have a couple signings. It wasn't anything crazy. Russell Okung for a 4-year, $53 million. Spent a lot on him. And then it was like small signings like Trey Boston, Damian Square, Brandon Oliver. Nothing really, really big at that side. But we put a lot of money on the line. We're trying to build the line for Phillip Rivers. And Okung did do pretty well for us for the most part. I think it did have some injury issues at that point. So moving on to 2018. 2018, we did get a stud. Derwin James. Absolutely love the guy. You know, great player. Obviously, I got his jersey right here for you. This is one thing that made me go get in, or wasn't an odd idea and philosophy of Tom Telesco was you draft a guy for later on, 2 years, 3 years down the road. And Uchenna Nwosu was a perfect example of that. A guy that kind of seemed like you did really, really well. He did great against the Ravens in the playoffs in 2018, made an impact. I understand you got a Melvin Gordon or a Melvin Ingram in front of you, but the guy needed to get a lot more time on field. He needed to be able to be a guy out there that could be more of a role player. You could fit in a couple guys in there. You could put, you know, Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Uchenna Nwosu, put them on the line, let them all play. Like, put them in situations. And he just never did that. They only played him until his last year of his contract and let him walk to go to the Seahawks for a cheap contract. Ridiculous. Justin Jones, I thought, was a good player. Kaiser White, stud tackler, let him walk. Let both of these guys walk. Scott Quisenberry, gone. Dylan Cantrell, size, metrics, everything great. Didn't work out. Justin Jackson, good role player and did pretty well under Anthony Lynn for a bit there. So 2018, we did have a signings of Mike Pouncey to be able to stabilize that center position for us. Virgil Green, kind of being the other guy. Geno Smith was another signing too for us too. So moving on, 2019. Jerry Tillery, Nazir Adderley, Trey Pipkins, Drew Tranquil, Easton Stick, Emeka Obuli, and Cortez Broughton. Jerry Tillery, woof. Yeah, that's tough. Nazir Adderley, good player. I don't think was exceptional. Did retire recently after his rookie contract. Trey Pipkins was pretty much the only guy on this list besides Easton Stick that stuck. Once again, Easton Stick was under Phillip Rivers. You know, obviously Justin Herbert. You know, we had a lot of guys that he just sat under and never had any field time. It was all preseason time for him, and that was it. Drew Tranquil was a guy we let walk, which I felt we could have got for a cheap price, and we decided not to stick with him. This is that whole streak where, you know, he was having such a love infatuation with a lot of Notre Dame guys. And we just never really seemed to work out. Free agent signings, Thomas Davis, latter part of his contract or his year, his career, older player, definitely slow on the field. Tyrod Taylor was a guy that we signed to that was essentially going to be the starter over next year's draft pick, first round pick. You know, we just ended up not really finding ways to be able to get those right players all around and really give the players that we draft time to develop on field. You know, it's crazy to think that Easton Stick didn't really have much playing time going back to 2019, which, you know, you're behind a couple of Ironmen, so that's a tough thing. 2020, great draft all here, guys, in the sense of getting a different quarterback when you're transitioning from one franchise quarterback. Moving on from Phillip Rivers at this point. Justin Herbert, you know what? If I'm going to hang my hat on anything with Tom Telesco, he found a way to transition from one quarterback to another. And that is an absolute critical thing to be able to do as a GM, to be able to have that continuity. He nailed it on the head and possibly just landed in our laps to get Justin Herbert. That draft for 2020 was pretty mean in general. Obviously, Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Jordan Love is starting to look good. Jalen Hurts, obviously great players all around. Same draft, Anthony Lynn really fell in love, I think, with Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray, they traded up to get him. Kenneth Murray is a good player. We have not picked up his 5th-year contract. We declined that. So at this point, he's a free agent after the season. He's got the ability to be a great player to attack the line, attack the running backs, but he's not good in pass coverage at all. That's what his weakness is all around. This draft was an interesting one. Really, it was all based upon Justin Herbert. Joshua Kelly, I think, is a great player all around. Good RB2, in my opinion. We'll see where he leads. Joe Reed always was a guy kind of sitting there floating around in the team for some reason, who never found a role. Maybe had 1 touchdown in his career. Alohi Gilman, I think, is one of those late guys, finally hit on a Notre Dame guy. We should re-sign him next year. And KJ Hill never worked out at all for us, too. So moving on. 2021. This was a draft where we got Rashawn Slater. Great pickup. Finally getting an offensive lineman in the first round, who should be a Pro Bowl, all-pro kind of guy for us for years and years and years. A stable point for this team and a great selling point for this next GM and head coach. Sante Samuel Jr., great player. I think he's better in the slot. Keep him in the slot, not as a starting outside corner. Good, solid player, great instincts all around. Josh Palmer, great pickup here. Now, once again in draft, it's complete crapshoot all around, guys. There's not a 100% hit rate that these guys are all going to work out. Well, with Trey McKinney was an interesting one, because I know we just drafted Josh Palmer, but you could have also drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown in the same draft. And Trey McKinney's not even on the team anymore. So once again, with a selection where you get like a free 3rd-round pick, you probably should just take a swing on somebody that you might actually work out a better. Now, I get it. Georgia's had some great players all around, national championships, good quality players, but Trey McKinney never really seemed to fit as a passer and even a blocker. So you got to be better on the talent, scouts, lean on them, make sure that they fit well for you, that they actually seem like they will be good players for the system. And it just never worked out. Chris Rump, obviously second kind of player, depth kind of guy. Brandon Hymus never really worked out. Nick Neiman, I think, is a good player. I think he just hasn't had enough field time. Good special teams guy for us. Roundtree not on the team. Mark Webb, once again, another late round pick where you choose a guy who's got some injury issues. You put him in the later rounds. You hope that he kind of works out and finds a way to get back. So in 2021, we did have a few pickups here. Nothing too crazy. A lot of departures on this one. Deshaun Jenkins gone. Denzel Perryman gone. Tyrod Taylor gone. Michael Davis did end up re-signing with us for 3 years, so they're keeping him. And then, Badgley, we're going through the kicking issues all around. We basically had him back for the team too. And then, signings-wise, Vizcaino had that issues with kicking once again all this year. Matt Filer, good signing for us for a couple years. Corey Linsley, massive signing for us since we did have to move on from Pouncey. Ode Oboshi, I think did great for us as a role player guy. Those are probably our bigger signings for that year. And also Dustin Hopkins to be able to stabilize the kicking eventually after going through so many of them. Big miss for us was Younghoe Koo. I mean, he had some missed field goals in critical times for us under Anthony Lynn. But at the same side, he's now one of the best kickers in the league. It's unbelievable. Good thing we got Cameron Dicker now, guys. Good thing we got him now. So moving on to 2022 draft. Now, once again, we went from 2021 changing over from Anthony Lynn to now Brandon Staley. We are now kind of getting a little bit better, I think, in drafting side of things. I don't know if it's a Brandon Staley effect, but we were being more aggressive all around. 2022 was an interesting year all around for us. Going again, first round pick to the guard position was Zion Johnson, who did great in his original position. I feel like since they switched him over to the left guard, I believe it is now, it's a little tough. I mean, when you do also miss Corey Linsley, it becomes an issue all around. Did want to go back to some of the earlier signings that we did too. Corey Linsley is obviously a very solid player and an all-pro type center. Brian Bulaga was another guy that we did signing that was a very injury-based prone type player. And we kind of have to really put health as a very important subject, signing a player and drafting a player. And I feel like we don't do that. Brian Bulaga had multiple knee issues, signed him to a big contract, basically had the same issues when he was with us, never really played for us, wasted money once again. GMs are basically, in my opinion, who you sign, how they play, and who you draft. And are they consistent? Are they going to Pro Bowls? That's one thing that was very, very much lacking as an importance with Tom Telesco. He almost wanted to like fool everybody by, this is when this guy's going to be healthy. This is when this 7th round pick's going to really pan out kind of thing, because yeah, he was injured, but he's great. He's going to be amazing. Can't fool the system, guys. Proof's in the pudding. If you notice when there's a lot of injuries, find ways to not draft those players, get healthy players. Money sitting on the sideline ain't helping nobody. So 2022 draft, highly aggressive. Signings wise, draft wise, we gave up draft pick to go get Khalil Mack. Great pickup for us all around. Did get a couple extra picks out of this draft. JC Jackson signing, big miss on that one, guys. Big miss. Great signing. Maybe got a little enamored with the name to be able to have him here. Didn't work out at all. Guy got his bag, didn't work out, didn't stay healthy, just kind of seemed to not really blend well with the culture all around. Now with this draft, 2022 is still relatively early to know if these guys are going to work out, but JT Woods, we're still attacking the safety position after you let go Eric Weddle years ago and had beef with Tom Telesco. You can't do that to a player like Eric Weddle. He was a great player all around, getting better constantly. He was a leader all around, and you let him walk. Now you're having to figure out this whole thing. Alohi Gilman, JT Woods are trying to figure it out now. And that's a big knock on Tom Telesco of player interaction and treating players well. Isaiah Spiller is such a question mark on him. Who is he, that guy? Is he going to be our future guy? I know he's a younger player all around, but Tom Telesco drafts players when they're 20 and hoping in 24 they'll be great. Well, that time they're going to walk. Their contracts are up pretty much at that point. So odd. Otito Boney, I think, is a great player all around. Has had some knee issues. Came back out. Still looks pretty good. Jamari Sawyer was an absolute savior for us this year because Rashawn Slater went down with a knee injury. Jasir Taylor has done well at times and has now been benched recently. Dean Leonard's got a lot of the intangibles, and I think it's more time will tell with him. Xander Horvath on and off with the team all around. So, but 2022 was a wild year. That was kind of one of those years that Tom Telesco got really, really, aggressive all around. Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, Gerald Everett, J.K. Scott, Kyle Van Noy, Morgan Fox just went crazy with the signings. First time they could do that. Obviously, you can't do that every single year because there is a salary cap restriction, guys. So it does take the right amount of money to be able to want to do that and have the ability to do that. I just really hope that we have a GM next that can be very aggressive on trying to find ways mid-season, before season, drafting wise, very, very well, that will actually be able to make this happen and be much more aggressive as a GM. So moving on to 2023 draft. Obviously, this is just this new year, but going for 21, pick 21. I think everybody as a Chargers fan understand this one. Quentin Johnston. We did a live during this time. I think Quentin Johnston was somewhat of a reach in a sense. There was a lot of knocks on him. Yards after catch guy. Obviously, that's something we wanted. Good with his feet, quick feet all around. But you had a Zay Flowers that could be out there. Jordan Addison, who's done well. You could have gone after a fair amount of people out there that have just done extremely well. And Quentin Johnston is kind of one of the players, once again, that I've chatted about. You draft a guy, especially in first round, to actually work out now for this team. Get this team better now. Can be on the field now. Regardless, you find a way to get them out now. This is pick 21 of first round. You make sure you get a guy who can make an impact immediately. Quentin Johnston, I understand, was under or behind Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Palmer, Guyton, whichever way you want to look at it as. I kind of put a knock on the GM for trying to think future, which I get it, understand things could shift next year because of salary cap situations. Plus, you got a lot of players in front of you that are going to be the guys, but people get injured. Going back on all this, Mike Williams tends to get injured a lot. Keenan Allen's gotten injured a couple times too. Josh Palmer got injured too. You need to get players ready and make sure that they are field ready when their number is called up. It is impossible to have a team 100% healthy throughout the year. I feel like Tom Telesco doesn't do a good job of drafting players and even signing players and drafting players to get them ready now. And now that could be a knock on coaching too, but I think he always thinks way too far down the road. You need to get a guy now. Tuli Tuipulotu, absolute stud. We knocked it out of the park with him, and I think he could be a defensive rookie of the year candidate this year. We'll see if he wins it. Deion Henley, I think, has all the intangibles: speed, instinctiveness. I think he has a lot that you got to love about him, but you end up signing a guy like Eric Kendricks to take away that time from him. You want to get guys, once again, and he was rated as one of the best inside linebackers in the league, or excuse me, in this draft. You want to get him out there and see what he could do, guys. And I think what he's done and shown when very, very limited time, he should be out there a lot more often. And I think, once again, he should be in a lot more pass situations and not have Eric Kendricks or Kenneth Murray out there for passing situations. Dan Henley should be out there for more passing situations. Get him out there. Darius Davis, stud. This is one of the very few late round based players that could potentially get to the Pro Bowl. He is the number one punt returner, kick returner in the league right now. Crazy. He might get to the Pro Bowl this year. Amazing to see another TCU guy, late round guy, might be one of the very few, maybe his third drafted players that have find a way to get to the Pro Bowl. And Jordan McFadden, we'll see where he's at. Scott Matlock, I think, has done well. Max Duggan, we don't know too much about him, but basically that is the draft. Now for the 2023, I've already even said that pickups wise, you had, Eric Kendricks kind of as being the big signing for us this year. So once again, guys, that is essentially our breakdown of Tom Telesco. If I'm going to break down a couple things of where he missed, one, signings of players that don't have injury-based issues and system fit type guys. You go back to even 2013 when we end up signing Derek Cox, 4-year, $20 million, is a big signing. Most teams always do one big signing. You got to hit on that signing, right? 1 year later, he's out. Didn't work out so well. JC Jackson, same thing, year and a half later. Kind of the same thing that happened with Derek Cox. Didn't work out. Signed a boatload of money to him, give him to him, doesn't work out. Same side with Brian Bulaga. You sign a guy who's got multiple knee issues. Sign him to a big contract. Probably going to get injured, gets injured. Going back to the draft, you draft guys that are like Jason Barrett, injury issues, gets injured throughout his entire career, still in the league because everybody knows his talent and who he is. When he is a healthy guy, he is dangerous as a quarterback, one of the best in the leagues. You don't draft guys based upon potential. You draft guys based upon, they're healthy and they're going to be cornerstones to your league. Make sure that they actually do an excellent job on this team, fit the system that you currently have in. And I don't feel like Tom Telesco put health at a high level. I think there was a lot of reaches of players in a sense. Didn't really seem to have much strategy after the first to second round-ish. Mid rounds pretty much are terrible all around for this team. And aggressiveness is the other thing I'm going to knock on Tom Telesco. Mid-season, it just seemed like, hey, when you go into the season, you got your 53-man squad and your practice squad. These are our guys. There's no way we're going to move around on anybody else here. You can't do that. Look at all the good teams out there, the Eagles, the Niners, the Chiefs. They always find ways to get dudes and to get guys to be able to better their team. That's what championship-based football culture is all about. Find more guys to help your team get to the next level. If you're in that zone where you might be able to be a competitive player or team, go after those guys. There's a lot of knocks that you could basically say that Tom Telesco never did that, or Coupon Tom, which everybody calls him. But either which way, guys, this is the whole video about Tom Telesco's past. Not a lot of good. There's some fair good stuff that has worked out. But once again, it's not easy in the draft to be able to get players right and draft the right players that actually will work out. It's all crapshoot, guys, in that sense. But those signings, free agent signings, I think are worse than his drafting, in my opinion. But I'd like to be able to hear from you. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. What's the reason why Tom Telesco ended up getting let go, including with Brandon Staley and everything too? So put in some comments below, guys. Once again, guys, like, subscribe to our channel. Really appreciate all the support, guys. And once again, guys, James from Bolt Bros. Let's go.